JXN, Jackson. I am your esteemed host, Tarek Abdul-Tawwab. I hope you all like that intro today. KP and I decided to do things together as he takes on a much heavier weight here, which I appreciate. But welcome back to Make It Make Sense, Jackson, in Mississippi, in these United States. It's been a busy day. It's been a hectic day here in Jackson. So we're sorry for the few minutes you had to wait for us to get going here. I always talk to you all, my family. I got my daughter with me. She hasn't been feeling well. So I just got her picked up, so I had to run things around, and then I started getting calls about this this new water situation, and that took me off. And I'm someone that when the community calls, I don't, even if I'm on my way to a show or anywhere, I just don't have the ability to just say I can't talk about it right now, especially when there's urgency there. So we'll get deeper into that. But I had a lot of folks reaching out to me just with that. What does this mean type question? You know what I mean, KP? And we're talking about, if you haven't heard about it, we're talking about the announcement that came out a few hours ago that we call it the water takeover.
Water Authority Bill.
But the Water Authority Bill is what you'll look at it as, has passed. So Jackson has lost autonomy over its water system. We'll go deeper into it to talk about what that looks like, in terms of majority and not. But yeah, that's had a lot of people calling KP. I know you the way we were talking about it, you've heard people talking about it as well, and I know you've had a few conversations. So this is a call-in day, guys. This is the last day of our weekly show, even though we're on our Facebook show the rest of the week. 601-948-5950. 601-948-5950. Call us and tell us what you think about what's happening in Jackson.
Yeah, it's closed off. It's official now.
Absolutely. In spite of that, I still hope all of you all that were with us and those that weren't did something progressive yesterday, made some step towards progress, and I hope as many of our loved ones that left out came back to us. And I always like to start the show with a moment of silence for those that didn't. But and thank you guys. But yeah, KP, what were you saying? You're saying that it's just a moment of.
What?
I'm just thinking of the different word we were using. A moment of clarity. I like that. A moment of clarity. Yes. But KP, do you have the article up? Do you want to start off with the article that we're referencing?
Yeah.
As we've gone along, guys, I've tried to, we tried to be a lot more active from the social media page as well, just giving you information, kind of making sure that, we follow up with things. Yesterday's show, I'll kind of make a quick point to this while KP's pulling up that article. Yesterday's show, we had a discussion on our line about city manager, right? And we'll talk a little bit more about what a city manager is and what they do. But I think that we're learning, especially with this recent water, not water table, water authority bill that's gone through. Okay, I think we're going to learn more and more that if we don't understand the dynamics that go into the decisions that are being made that affect us and that are affecting us so heavily right now, that we're not going to understand. If we don't understand the players behind the decisions, then it's hard for us to use our God-given intelligence. And as a people, we are extremely intelligent, but it's hard for us to use our intelligence and put everything together. So if we didn't understand when we talked about the city manager yesterday, and it wasn't Bristol, it was actually Wyatt Hemlick from the North Side Sun. Now this is the gentleman who actually wrote the article that kind of started everything, where he implored North Side Republicans to vote Democrat in the mayoral elections in which Mayor Horn won, and begged them to then vote for John Horn. We said that was a red flag to us, not because of Mayor Horn or not Senator Horn at that time, but because of the North Side Sun, who just a far-right Republican audience, right? Why would they want to sway the election like that? Well, this is the same gentleman that after, and if you look at our website right now, Make It Make Sense, Jackson, JXN, I put up both articles. This is the same gentleman that after Horn was elected, then instructed him.
Check email.
Check my email. Okay, that's the same gentleman that instructed Horn to then go ahead and get a city manager. So what I was trying to make a point of when the gentleman called in yesterday was we've got to make sure we match ideas to where they're being supported from, because ideas don't just appear. Ideas are pushed, just like we're pushing community awareness. It didn't come out of nowhere. Me and KP and D, we sat and talked about this long before we ever got on the radio, about what would we do if we ever had a platform and a chance to talk to people, right? What would we do and what we would say? But when these ideas start getting pushed, well, we need a city manager. You got to look back at where those ideas were born from and who's looking to benefit off of them. So when the same gentleman that says, Mr. Wyatt Emlick at Northside Sun, that says Republicans vote in the Democrat primary so we can sway and get our guy in, and our guy is John Horn. He has the right to say that, and that's what they said. Then this gentleman follows up and says, great, now we got Horn in. Horn, go ahead and get a city manager. which really equals take the control even further away from the citizens of Jackson. Because now you can't even pressure on that mayor. Now you got a city manager making a lot of those decisions. So that's it. Just take a look there before we jump into the water story and understand the context we're trying to build in our city is one of people understanding who is pulling the triggers so that they don't just jump in the water.
The mayor has no control over the city manager if it was to be ordered. He would have most of his hands tied to it.
Well, if a city manager is there, the city manager is making a lot of the day-to-day decisions that a mayor would generally make. And so, who is that city manager? Just like when I don't want to get ahead of it, just like when we talk about the water story, you talk about a board of any sorts. Well, yeah, it only matters if you know who's on that board. So if you've got somebody who you don't trust, this administration's moves that they're already making, and this administration is then appointing that city manager, or this city council is then appointing that city manager.
And it has to be appointed by them.
And I'm going to look it up to see how they come in Mississippi, but I know that it's not a process in which we are involved.
No, I was just trying to figure out if it was a loophole for it not to be appointed by them.
No, that's a good reason. We know they are appointed. It's a great question. You know, I'm going to look it up real time. They are appointed, not elected officials hired by a city council and sometimes the mayor to manage daily municipal operations based on expertise. They are selected through a professional, blah, blah. Because then I don't mean to say, but then you look it up more. But that's what they are appointed. So a city manager is basically someone that Mayor Horn or any mayor can appoint, or the city council, to do what they need to do, and then it's that person doing it.
So you was right, it has to be the mayor or the city council.
Yeah. And then they essentially take the feeling out of it, the emotion out of it, because they're not there to engage in partisan politics. So if you're saying, well, we don't want this, we're Democrat, they don't care anything about that. They're there to implement policies. It becomes a business, so to speak. They're there to implement policies. You know that old movie, Screw You, Pay Me. It's that type of mentality because it's not about what you want as a city or the culture or the makeup of your city. It's about the policies that they're implementing, who they're putting as department heads within the city because they're overseeing the budget. So now you're talking about contracts flowing out of the city. You're talking about just giving it all away rather than an installment plan. One time right there. You go ahead and they can just drain anything or build anything.
They will be giving it all away.
Yeah, city manager, because then a mayor would have no worries about the pressure coming from the residents to him, because those decisions are being made by a city mayor. And this is what you call creating an opposition, fake opposition. And we'll go deeper into that. And then presenting that opposition to the people as if you're fighting for them. That's what something like this can grow into. Because now you put the city manager in place, he goes wild or she goes wild because you're going to pull somebody in from Madison or Richland, like we see a lot of folks coming in on this transitional team and on this administration's team, right? Now you pull them in, now they start doing things the city resists. Now the mayor says, well, I don't like this, but guess what? That's not how it goes. You don't just tell them to leave at that point. It's got to be a reason. Now they're in there not for feelings, so they don't care how their implementations hit the city. They're just there to implement the policies. So if you want to remove me, you need to show me how I didn't implement the policies I said I would implement. I don't care if those policies turn into murder for your children, if those policies turn into worse conditions, worse living conditions, worse schools. That's not their job. Where our mayor's job is to care for the people, so to speak. So, I mean, not the city manager is there for a specific reason. They are there to implement policies, manage department heads, and oversee budgets, and not engage in partisan politics.
If they were to do that, there'll be a reason for them to get removed. If they were to care about the people. Is it something that they not... Is it something like they can't do? Is it like illegal to do?
It's just not their job. And the bigger concern is whoever Mayor Horn brings in, the bigger concern is
that's not going to be why
they brought him in. Just because that's just not their job. And that's just an honest opinion. That's not beating up on him. That's just not... No. I appreciate that approach. Because it's deep. And we'll look deeper into it and get to understand it better. But I think that the key thing that we do understand that it does is that it pulls the power further away from the people. And that's not any rebel cry, you know. The power of the people is in our votes, and in a lot of ways, our votes has already been diluted severely, you know. You just think about where we are right now. You think about HB 1020. All of this is coming back up. It's all coming back to me now. Celine Dion song. That should be the soundtrack of what's happening right now to Jackson. And every one of you should be listening to that song and looking back in the newspapers and looking at things and say, that's what happened, right? What were we talking about? The votes being pulled away. First let's just talk about our elected judges and officials.
Exactly.
You started there, right? So you removed you expanded the Capitol Police. You brought in your own judges and officials. So essentially you said, we'll police the city the way we see fit. The people's voices go on there. So now once we police the people, right? Once we lock somebody up, put some roadblocks, shoot some people, make some decisions, generally you would have a judge that you elected there to at least say, hold on a second, let's put some power. Let's replace those judges with judges that we elect. We'll bring a black judge that's known as one of the harshest sentences alive, and then we'll bring other white judges with him. Remember when I told that story about that parole board where they had the 2 white gentlemen and the 1 black gentleman? We've got to be very real about what's happening now. That 1 black gentleman was there for one reason and one reason only, to qualify that as a non-racist decision. And they did the same thing with the Capitol, the CCID complex. And then once you did that, you took our vote away there. So you see constantly your vote being taken away.
Diluted.
Now, diluted. And then everything just being given away. And so let's read the article and get into what this article says, and then we'll get deeper into it. But I think this is a time where folks need to be very strong against the opposition within your own city. Folks are starting now to realize that it's very, it can be very financially lucrative. I wouldn't even say that, just advantageous to be on certain sides. And now you see these different ideas being pushed forward. Now we need a city manager. Right, and it's just coming out of nowhere and coming from within the city, just coming out of nowhere, and we've got to be able to attach those to their sources. It's very important. I've got it up too, just if you need me.
Oh, I got it. All
Okay.
You get done.
No, you got it.
Water Authority Bureau clears the House. City to have a say in a minute. The majority of the board appointments. A bill that will create authority to take over Jackson's water and sewer system once the third-party manager leaves has cleared the House. On Wednesday, the House of Representatives voted 96-12 to approve the bill. The bill was modified from its original version to include a 9-member governing authority, which will give Jackson City officials the majority of the appointees. Representative Shauna Yates, who authored the bill, the measure, told the colleagues it took months of work to craft something that the city as well as Hines County delegation could agree on. We had multiple hearings over the last 2 years, and we addressed water at 2 or 3 of those. She said at least at the last hearing, the mayor came forward and talked about this and specified he supported the water authority.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's it. So, and when you hear names, and this is just the young lady in the chat just said, people have meager knowledge, and I know I butchered that word, meager knowledge of government or very little knowledge of government, and I think we're at a time where accountability has got to be there, because if I'm your principal, your leader, if I'm in a position of making sure you're aware, and folks have meager knowledge. When I was in a position as a manager, you did what's called a skip level meeting. So they would remove whoever's above you. They would remove you, and whoever's above you would come meet with your team, right? And so at that point, they would tell your team, tell me anything you want about him. You know what I mean? Is he managing you wrong? Is he too harsh? Is he too that, right? So you at least have a way to see what's happening and what people understand. And then if that leader has taught them nothing, it doesn't matter if they don't want to learn, if they don't know anything, then that business says, yeah, that manager just isn't good enough. So when you have a whole set of people that don't understand the knowledge, bless you, of government, you have to at a certain point ask, why don't they understand the knowledge of government? I just think that that's very important to say.
It's intentional.
It's intentional.
That's why we don't have civics in school anymore. It's intentional.
Absolutely. This is plain speak here at Make It Make Sense, Jackson. If in 40 years, every one of us, my children, a 17-year-old understands the political makeup of 1965. Doesn't necessarily have to have a father to pass it down or a mother to pass it down. A 17-year-old, a young African-American person today knows the political events of 65. They understand what was in play there. They understand the anti-lynching bills of 39. Very easy for them to pick up. But if you ask them about laws and politics within the last 40 years, to this audience member's point, the information is the knowledge is meager. The knowledge is very small. So what changed? But what we love to do as a society is continuously point at the people that are affected, not what changed that. Oh, I hear it every day, and I listen to so many religious leaders and quote community leaders and just wake up in the morning, wash their bodies and go outside, drive by and just decide if they're going to blame it on a person that's getting punched down on the most in that society. See, the problem is these mothers, they don't take care of their kids, and these single mothers raising babies. Listen, I rarely dip into certain water, right? But it's getting so bad here. The cowardliness of pointing at a mother raising a child alone is a problem, instead of looking at the people that disrupted your society who are still here gaining mightily and go at their neck the same way you're going at these mothers' necks. You don't do that. What you want to look at is the symptoms. Well, you have mothers that emote. Those are all symptoms. No one's denying any symptoms that you put out there. Intelligent people don't need to do that. But I noticed that you don't have that same smoke for the entities within the state of Mississippi that did a lot of that damage back when your schools were there and families were together, that pushed for these separations and these abuses on our community. I noticed you not scrubbing these files being released by the governor to see what part of your black community helped to hurt back in the days we were trying to fight to get votes. Who told about that meeting? Who told about what we were doing to push back? I noticed you ain't fighting to get to that information. But you sure willing to point at some young men and talk about how they shooting is what the whole problem is in our community. You know, the problem is people don't have religion anymore. That's the problem. You done sat there for 40 years and watched 40 straw bosses steal from their community. And the only thing you can say is the problem is we don't have religion anymore. But that's a symptom. Nobody disagrees with you on that. And that's why a lot of these folks stick to that point and stay on it all day. They want to get to the point you agree with, and then they want to live there because that makes you love them. No one agrees that the way that it was disrupted, the household was disrupted, the attack on the church as the center of our community, stop coming with those small arguments. Because the more you make that argument, no one looks at what you did since that point. And this water situation is a dwindle down to exactly that. So we have to understand that we're putting up information, not attacks, because this information will bring us to light. And we talked on the way in here, and I said, I believe there's light at the end of this tunnel. I wouldn't be wasting my time, my children's future. I know there's light at the end of this tunnel, light at the end of this tunnel. Because that light is us as a people understanding that everybody has not been doing their assignment. You know, you're on a football field, and we were talking about it. Everybody got, if 7, 8 players on the field miss their assignment, that's how you get to the Jackson you're in now. Enough Jacksonians just sit there when someone's doing something crooked and don't say anything. Enough Jacksonians wait until it's too late and then say, hey, look what they were doing over there. Or just whisper at the bar or at the meeting place and never say anything out loud. That's what it takes, is enough missed assignments. Get your city going. And you weren't the ones missing the assignments, and that's the saddest part. You were being fed information.
Who wrote the assignments?
Well, I mean, I think we've got to look deeper, and I think that's a very good point.
It's the job description.
Yeah, it's the job description. And this is we're looking at a myriad of things coming up.
Just a lot of these assignments they giving y'all be biased as a mug. They don't really, as a Jacksonian, they know certain stuff you don't know. They still tell you to work it out and figure it out. They don't, you know what I'm saying? Like me coming into politics when I was young, I ain't really had no half of the stuff was going on. So it took for me to really start at the surface level of it to get to where I'm at now. So you see what I'm saying? So just throwing, if you would do this at me when I was 17, I'd have been like, what the crap is y'all talking about? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Remember we said that earlier? The point is, and look at the way the ball is rolling right now. The point is that by the time it's too late by the time you recognize. And we were saying that's the whole goal of it. Let's talk about this water bill, the water authority that just passed. And let's be very, very intentional here, okay? Because you deserve that. So when Senator Horn was in office in the Senate, there was an article that you have to go back to, and we'll post it. I'll find it and post it, where he had the discussion where he said, well, basically the Republicans have almost as many votes, basically something of that nature, as they need to pass a water takeover bill. They've been trying this for some time. So at this point, and the inference was that ship has sailed. Kind of the same inference that was given when the former Mayor Lumumba asked then Senator, and this came out during the Doolin Hall debates, asked then Senator Horn, didn't I ask you for help to save the school system when the takeover was in play? And you told me that the school systems were all but gone, so there was no point in going down that road.
You said the same thing about the airport.
The same thing about the airport.
This is a pattern.
This is a pattern. And this is direct intentional thought. This is a pattern now.
Bend over.
Listen, this is real talk. And I say that soberly, and I say that without any inflammation, because that's what you deserve to hear. Now you have Mayor Horn and the administration telling us that we won because we've got a majority of seats on a board of a water department that was ours just a few months ago or 9 months ago. Now you've got 5 rooms in your house. It was your house yesterday. Yes, it had some asbestos. Folks had to stay in some hotels and had to stay out while you were trying to fix it up, but it was your house.
He killing us with more victories.
Man.
He killing us with more victories.
We've got 5 out of the rooms. You get called back downstairs to be told the victory, what we pushed for, not fought tooth and nail and ended up with. But what we accepted up front was we're going to have 5 out of the 9 houses that we used to live in are now going to be ours. So that means that, and who lives in those rooms? That's not. So is it the same? Is us that lives in those rooms? We still live in the house? No. I know with the previous administration, you could talk to them. And you lived in the house. With this administration, I'm going to appoint who's in that house. So now our fate is sealed to who Mayor Horn appoints to sit on that table.
Yep.
Just out here giving it out. And now we have to worry. So the city manager, whoever you put in these rooms in this house on this board of 5, that's who determines our future. You are walking into a hostage, a hijacking and kidnapping of the Jackson residents by way of the most important basic necessity you need, which is water. So you're talking about, and this is what I say when I say, shout outs to our community member that said this, you create fake opposition. These lace comments was you create fake opposition, a fake fight, and then make us think you're fighting for us. So you tell us I fought for 5 seats. No, you should have fought for the water system, for us to retain autonomy over it. And how much money have they used already out of that $890 million?
Like 100.
What, about 100, 150 million?
Yep.
Okay. I see what's at play.
So there's still a lot left.
There's still a lot of money left. And now, we're walking through this carefully. Now, they just passed legislation in the rural areas.
Yep.
A stopgap.
Same week.
The same week that this water authority is passed here. This is the intelligence they don't want us to pick up on, because then we'll start putting 2 and 2 together and it doesn't equal 17. So you just passed legislation to protect residents in those rural areas from price gouging by water companies.
By water authorities.
By water authorities, excuse me. Yeah, these are the water authorities. Thank you. Big differences. Now we're under water authority, Jackson. So they just passed legislation to protect them. The same week they moved Jackson under a water authority with no legislation extended to us.
That's just
Make
for
it
rural
make
areas.
sense. That's just for rural areas. And we've got 800 plus million left in the coffers.
Then
This is the talk they don't want you to talk. They want you to say what good Massa has gotten you, not what you lost. That's the game flip. They want you to look at it as like, hey, look, you still got 5 rooms in that house. It could have been a lot worse now. We could have came for the whole house, which they're going to do anyways.
And if y'all don't put it like that, it's no other way to put it. That's exactly what's going on. Don't get uncomfortable. Oh, that meant no. That's exactly what's going on. That's how you need to put it. 5 rooms, you got 100 rooms you could have had, and they don't want y'all to have it. There is no other way.
Folks know it. It's almost like the barber cutting your hair can't cut, but you know what? You already sat down. Go on and see it through, homeboy. You got to see it through. Some people are like that. They got to see it through. It's my barber, and I know he ain't cutting right, but I'm going to keep going back to him because I got to see it through, walk around looking a mess.
It's a soft giveaway. I give away the important parts, and then you might as well give away the rest.
I ain't got a haircut right now. You can't.
But that's the point. You don't have a bad haircut. Yeah, no. But no, D, you said exactly right. And this is what's been presented to us by this administration. And let's go through the steps. I'll give away all of the big things. So when I get you a small gain, you're grateful. So your airport property, gone. Your 14-year-olds, any chance of them progressing into a better place, gone. They're going to be workers. Your water system, gone. But I got you 5 seats out of 9. And you think that's bashing somebody?
Give them a chance.
You got to love yourself more than that. So when your peers, when your community members speak up and say, well, why do they? Because they keep doing it. And that cuts that conversation. Because I don't even want you to carry that baggage. I get it. Because they keep doing it. And you know what the folks say to me when I say that? And I explain it? I promise you, hand to God. And I'm in lists with you people. I'm in Kroger's with you people. I'm at schools with you people. We parents together. They look at me and say, well, you know what? I mean, you're right about those things. That's the conversation. That's the voice of the people. You're my spaghetti against the wall. And my child's right there tell you, I talk to a lot of people. And we read and we go. But that's this is not, when we say that they sold all the good things and told us to be happy with the crumbles, that's not Hollywood talk. That's what's happening here.
Time and time again.
We'll get into gentrification. Because this is all connected together. At this point, this ball is rolling, and it's rolling heavily. And it all got launched by a Northside article that saw a chance, saw an opening, saw a community so worn down by bad conditions, often caused by the state. Realize that the legal arm is what they've always used to get what they want. You ain't got to talk about the case, you just got to agree with the facts. It's a beautiful thing. We don't have time to talk about that. We know contra pro. We know what the goal is in the South when you've got a mayor that will, or a governor, or any political person that will not let you have your way. So we don't even have to go further than that. We have to say, yeah, that could be it. Then next thing you know, here comes the legislation. Let's take over the Capitol. Then here comes, let's replace the judges. Then here comes, let's sway the election. Then here comes, you have to imagine that both Chief Wade and Assistant Chief Griselle are no longer with us. What are your thoughts? I mean, what could be the reasons for that? Something you're just not willing to do or to go through. I hate that we have to guess. I wish they told us on the way out. Because that would be family. Because whatever's about to happen to the rest of us would have been real nice if we could have got a heads up. I appreciate that you did not want to be involved in it being done to us. And I think that the mayor bringing in Daigle, D-A-I-G-L-E Law Group, attempting to bring them in, gives us some foresight into the violence that it takes to sustain gentrification.
Welcome to Make Sense, Carly on there.
Welcome to Make It Make Sense. Call you on the air.
Hi, how are you? I'm so proud of you. You can't tell me how refreshing it is to hear a man stand up for what he knows is right. Or Jesus died in vain, Malcolm died in vain, Medgar died in vain. We just don't get it. Thank you for putting it out there that we just don't get it.
Well, no, I appreciate you calling in. We thank you.
Please keep teaching.
Yes, man. Well, you all are the backbone. Remember that. I mean, remember the most important thing is this, that the only anger, the only wave that exists in Make It Make Sense, Jackson, is that only thing we're talking about is what's happening to the people. Not one show do we get into somebody's personal business. We're just talking about what folks are doing and news articles and the fact that these folks are just not telling us what's been happening these last 40 years for us to make informed decisions. We'll take the rest on us. We've got to clean up ourselves, our communities. We know that. But we expect those that say they're leading us to give us the real information. And we appreciate you for chiming in.
And I'm especially talking about those people that are passing Jackson into the hands of the enemy. That's who they are. Push you out. I'm going to come back.
Yes.
Yep.
Jackson rising
And
again.
and hide, throwing the rock, hiding your hands. It's a travesty.
Yes.
It is, oh gosh, it hurts.
It does.
It does.
And I need you to tell me what we need to do to stop the hemorrhaging.
That's the beauty. That's the beauty, my sister. All we have to do is say no. Put it on paper. Watch the first step of 30,000 folks in an all-black city saying, we do not agree with the direction that our black Democratic mayor and administration and city council are taking us in. We don't have to talk about them. We don't have to say we want them gone. Just we present it to them first. Let's do it the right way, the Southern. Put it in their hands and say change. Do something better for us. And if they won't, then we put it in the next person's hand and work in our community and they go up higher. But we can, if we just say something together, you have to understand that the Mississippi is the home of all African Americans in this country, whether they know it or not, whether they've been cut from their roots or not. You may not know your history, but the rest of the people should. You came from a certain place. This is where the experts of enslavement are. And I'm not saying they don't have neighbors in Georgia and in Kentucky that were dang good at it. But what I'm saying is, when they send you to a place to break you as a slave, and that's what Mississippi was, that tells you about the folks that are here and what we're fighting against. And when we got folks in our own community not doing their assignment, well, all we got to do, sister, is get them out of there. These young people are crying for somebody to give them a chance to be better. The elderly people are crying for them to enjoy the gains that they know back in the 60s they made. And that group that sat there from Dr. King to Obama with their pockets fat and their cars shiny don't want to say anything in their mum right now.
Right.
And at least you see the older politicians speaking up and saying, hold on, son, well, Dr. King, got you, brother, uncle. And you're right back then. Go on and have a seat. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the war on drugs politicians. I'm talking to the pandemic politicians. I'm talking to the food desert politicians. I'm talking to the super predator politicians. I'm talking to the politicians that allowed them to let these boys go from from schools right into the jails. It didn't say nothing until we said something. I'm talking about the Black Caucus making a study out of 15 out of every 1,000 black babies dying. And I'm hoping that they do the right thing. I'm in support of them. But that study ain't done nothing yet but paid some people that did nothing for our community to look at what we already know the problem is, and we sick of it. But I appreciate you.
If we don't get it for what we have seen in the past year, if we don't get it, I don't think we ever will. Your governor said 30,000 people come into the city every day, and they're tired. They need to come back.
They need to come back. He said it. He said it the best way. I got another one coming in, but my sister, thank you so much for calling, and we appreciate your thoughts. Stay listening to us.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, my sister. Peace.
Well, we'll make sure to call you on there.
Yeah. Thank you for taking my call. Thank you for taking my call, gentlemen.
Thank you for calling, my bro. Thank you for listening.
No doubt. Listen, I was wanting to know, have y'all heard about Piney Woods being under investigation under the Epstein file, where they had leadership was sending some of those girls off for those sexual wild, for those devils? Have you heard anything about that?
I looked into a little bit of the file. I saw the raw file. I hadn't seen any evidence of the other stuff. But I know that Millsaps is also in there and nobody's talking about that. I know that Mississippi College is also in there and nobody's talking about that. But I hadn't seen anything direct. But I have heard some rumors about certain faculty and stuff out there.
Well, yeah, I heard that that's why that teacher out there that died, I think it was a couple years ago, I heard that he had something to do with the Epstein file.
The rumors are running wild now.
Yeah.
But no, I did, my brother. Yes, we read. Me and DD, my producer, I'm sorry. We read that article and we read about the money being given. And folks everywhere. This is what I say. Folks everywhere are going to have to start explaining all of the interactions that took place and what their hands were in there. Everywhere. And just because the story comes out doesn't mean you're guilty 100%, but you got to explain the whys. And my brother, this is what I'll say. Those interactions a lot of times with folks like that, those are the things that led to a lot of the decisions the politicians made that were dealing with those types of folks. I will say that. But yeah, so I read it. I didn't get past the part of just to see talk about tuition being paid. But I did see it.
Okay, the reason why I was asked, I understand with Millsaps and those other schools and stuff, and I expect that these people are devils. So I don't expect that type of behavior from them. But I just want to know if there was in the file. I want to know who were these black people who were in control, because I remember growing up in high school. I'm from North Mississippi. I remember some kids and stuff. Parents used to send their kids down there to Piney Woods because they said there was going to be a better education. So
That's right.
The reason why I was asking, if y'all had that information, I want to know who those black people is, because I'm going to put them on blast.
Well, no, we need to get it. When people want it, we need to get it. I know with the way they're talking about, what were the records on that? Did you remember the records on that, the dates? Because I know that the new administration used to work with the Obama administration. I know that they've been in there for just a few years. So we got to see which administration was in there and who they're saying took it. Piney Woods was an institution. It is an institution. It's one of the only black boarding schools that exist. Or I think it's beyond that. Isn't it one of the only black prep schools, I think, that exist? And there's maybe two more. So to this brother's point, you're talking about an institution. When he says that they are high, in the black community, Piney Woods has to be held to a higher standard, this brother is absolutely correct. And if you don't understand what Piney Wood was, the records they hold, what positions they held in this community, go back a little bit into your history and research. Because they definitely are an institution that is certainly held far above a Millsaps or any other community in our community. Because that was where black folks were able to get to and get educated at a time when it was illegal to go to school. So we're going back to one of the most influential institutions in Mississippi. And if anyone in an institution of that nature is involved with selling our children or anything that goes that far into that institution, you need to bring that to the forefront. To the producer's point, what it looks like now is somebody was paying some tuition. That's the way it looks.
Well, I'm going to do a little deeper dive in that, and when I come back on air, I want to make sure I have all my points correct before I just blast anyone. But I just thought that was interesting when I heard about that. I just can believe there's a lot of black people out of this state sending their kids to that school, hoping that they'll get a better education to get out of the conditions that they were in.
exactly right. And listen, my brother, this is what I say too. I don't think that you should hold anything before you do anything. You're speaking a truth that a lot of us have heard and know, right? And so I just think that when you do the research, what it does, it brings you closer to it. I always say money trails lead to everything. When I look up a person, and that's why a lot of the information I give you all, like when I say something that seems atrocious to people, like when our mayor was a senator, he got political donations from a triplet who was part of a construction company that built what we call slums. I say that information because I looked it up and it showed me that. So what you do is you just look up who the donors are, who these investors are, who's putting money in, and I guarantee you, every time I follow that trail, I find out what the true intentions are. Just like that Northside article which said vote Republican. Me and KP found that while the election was going on. And it was an article that was never supposed to make its way to the black community, I assure you. So keep digging. Don't say I'm going to wait. Just keep digging.
We don't want to court, brothers. I appreciate y'all. We don't want to court.
I appreciate you. And we're going to look into it further for you. So next time we talk about it, we'll be together.
No doubt. No
Listen,
doubt.
and this is we appreciate you for calling, brother. Listen, I ought to say this, this is the uncomfortable part. And then I say this is the part where, you know how the business model used to be when you're starting to cut people from your team. First you cut the fat, people that are doing nothing, right? Doesn't really hurt you. But then at some point, if you have to save yourself, you have to start cutting their muscles. You may have to start touching family members, people you love, people that you work with. This is a very uncomfortable process because that part about folks being silent for 40 years while all this built up, there's a lot of folks that's going to be uncomfortable with you bringing that into the light. And you've got to do two things. Be consistent and always be real. And let them know redemption is there for everybody. I've needed redemption before. Maybe not in telling my people out. Not maybe. It's never been in telling my people out. But I've needed redemption before. So you're welcome back once you fully confess so we can understand what you've done wrong and we can try to fix it going forward. But anyone everywhere that you see, and with Pineywood, they are definitely an institution of higher learning and an African-American institution of higher learning. So in the state of Mississippi, and so when I say Tougaloo, when I say Jackson State, when I say our professors teaching them the history in a way that lets them understand what's being done intentionally, Pineywood falls right under that same bracket. They were built off of the blood, the sweat, and the death of African Americans by a man who was sick of just being broken down and having zero opportunity, so much so he built a school just to give other African Americans opportunity in a land that was so cruel to African Americans that we needed an outlet. We've got to start holding those that are given much more responsibility. Because folks in the upper echelons of our black society love that saying, to whom much is given, much is expected. Well, in our community since 65, to whom much has been given, very little has been expected. They just get to show up and be black.
Yep, that's just passed down.
That reminded me, I gotta show you something after.
And I think it's, and so when you look at the when you talk about
You said check your email.
the rate increase,
You check your email.
mm-hmm. the rate increase. Now the city council has called a special meeting because of the rate increase. That's what we were talking about earlier, right? And I know as time's winding down, they've called a special meeting. Now, from what I understand, the oversight bills were pushed because of a rate hike crisis, right? Where the rates were being pushed up on, we had predominantly white communities in Canton coming out, but they were representing, all of the communities, and the rates were being pushed up everywhere, right? And so that pushed an investigation by all these other entities, right? And you saw it happen in Canton. The rate case that we talked about should have been done in the first place, right? Now, I want to talk about this part briefly so you can understand the water situation a little better. So when you hear folks say things like, well, it'll make no sense to push a rate case now, that's the same thing as giving away your water system and saying, well, at least we have 5 seats. It makes no sense to push a rate case now. Well, why wasn't it done when it did make sense? That's the question you got to start to ask, right? So when these rural laws were passed, the Mississippi lawmakers recognized with all of these rate cases that were being pulled up, with all these communities saying they're pushing the bills up too high, these water authorities are out of control, they're price gouging. When all that was happening, they opened an investigation into that. All of the cities rose up against it, right? Jackson, we're sitting here watching that, right? Now, we're paying some folks saying 100% over what their bill should be. They're seeing a 100% increase in their bill, some people. Mm-hmm. Nothing is said from our administration about an investigation of this nature. Nothing is said from our city council about an investigation for this nature. The previous mayor had to do these things himself, right?
Yeah.
That's why they said, remember the first thing they asked Mayor Horn? we have to remember these uncomfortable past to understand that future. Remember Mayor Horn's first question? How are you going to make your relationship better than the previous mayors? With Hennepin, he said, well, that relationship was just strained. He went from saying that relationship was strained, we're going to be cool, to saying I thought Hennepin was my friend after he burnt Jackson.
Oh,
and
shucks.
this is the part of it that you got to really be willing to go back over. You can't keep letting somebody piss down your back and tell you it's raining. At a certain point, you deserve to stink. There's too many things that are being pushed away, so nothing was done. When our Public Service Commission did step in for our area and say, this is our last step, which should have been done by the city council and the mayor well before that, as soon as they saw Canton and everyone else going into these problems, the state of Mississippi GOP, the Republicans have been pushing water takeover and water authority legislation for how long now? Since the money came.
Right.
These are the questions we have to ask. Where is our protection? No, nothing called, nothing done. Now the city council, after the water authority bill is passed, this is the protection you get. After the water authority bill is passed, the city council calls a special meeting to do what? You just lost your voice again. You're a hostage in Jackson right now. We're not saying that irresponsibly. You don't have a voice in who's policing your city. You don't have a voice in who's enforcing your city from a judicial standpoint. You don't have a voice now in your water anymore. There's a board over it, and John Horn gets to appoint who they appoint on that board. You don't have a voice in your school systems. What else did we lose voices in? You don't have a voice in your airport anymore. And what happens around it? Every other mayor basically was involved in the lawsuit protecting the airport. That's why I said you don't have, and pretty soon you're going to be priced out of your city. And that's where we want to land, because so much has happened, but you deserve to hear so much about it. So now we've got a water board, and you know what they're going to do. That's why that line's so quiet about the water board. We watch them in every other rural area we watch. We know what they're in Reedstown. We know where this is going. I pray it doesn't, but we know this channel. We watch this movie. And a water authority in Jackson,
They made sure to protect everybody else first, though.
they made sure to put a law to protect the other communities first. So,
Well, it makes sense, Carl. You on air.
we got about 1 minute, caller. We're floating to the end. We appreciate your call. Go ahead.
Hey, yeah, I just wanted to make one point on what you said,
Yes, ma'am.
how the black got tired of not having opportunities, so he built one for the rest of the black people. I think the problem with our community is, like, we get people in those positions and then they want to be just like the people that, you know, cause us to have these problems. So they just forget about the rest of the people and get complacent and do what they do. And then I also want to ask a question. I remember seeing an article not too long ago about a guy in Ross County that was dumping waste into the reservoir, causing problems in the city of Jackson. I want to know, do y'all know if anything came out of this situation?
I remember the article you're talking about. Well, I appreciate both your points. I definitely remember the article you're talking about. I don't. Was it back in 21? How long ago was it?
I think so.
There was the rebel businessman, he called himself the rebel businessman, Andrew Walker, that was dumping suburban waste into Jackson Reservoir. I think that's who you're talking about. That's a good question, because he was, at the time they said he may face prison. I'm Googling it right now and I don't see, he was supposed to be looking at prison because he discharged over 3 million gallons of industrial waste into Jackson's sewage system between 2016 and 2017. Golly, I didn't realize he did that much in that short of a time. That is a lot. Wow, yeah. So, but I do not see him actually, and you know the Mississippi Shuffle. They'll hold him accountable and then let him out of jail at the end of it. But I do not see anything saying that he actually went to jail. I see them saying that he conspired, the evidence piled up against him. But to your point, the city of Jackson pursuing their own lawsuit. But I don't see anything saying that he pled guilty, is what I'm telling you. But I don't see anything saying he went to jail.
What was the name of his business?
It was, hold on a second. If I can't see it, I'm not going to hold it. It was Rebel Transport Company. No, I don't know if it was Rebel Waste. But his name, the gentleman we're talking about, was Andrew Walker. And he was called the Rebel Waste Guy, a businessman. But I don't know what the name of his business at that time was. But I do not, I'll keep looking up on the system. We'll post on it. But I don't know if he actually went to jail. But it would be interesting to know, because that did a lot of damage that we're still experiencing right now. But to your first point, and we're gonna end the show off of your first point, sister. You can stay on there until we leave. But I think that what the sister said is very important. That too often we were given an opportunity to get out of the constraints of oppression and to get into a world that was dominated by our oppressors. And instead of taking that option, instead of taking that chance to fulfill the spirit of, if you were the talented 10, to fulfill the spirit of getting the power and then handing it down to your people, instead they aspire to be like those that oppress them. I think that's a point that has to be discussed, because that's got to be the warning sign. And I think that everywhere from Pineywood to Tougaloo to Jackson State to Alcorn to Valley State, you have to look at those in control, because the body of the students, and they're HBCUs till they die, you can never take that from them. But you've got to look at the people that are in control and look at whether they are mistaking a necktie for a noose, whether they're walking their people into a burning building simply because they think that it's more important that your pants are up than you have legislation that really protects the people. You think it's more important that you don't have a red streak in your hair than you have school systems that actually teach your children rather than having to put your children in the charter schools. They think it's more important that you don't listen to rap music than that you come back to your people and show them a good example of what a black man and black woman that love their community look like. And that's the problem. We put our faith in leaders who think it's more important to look like the oppressor than to get free of the oppression.
Mm-hmm.
And Jackson, Mississippi is the biggest example that I could ever see of that right now.
Yeah, it's like we want to be accepted and want to be in their space so bad, but why not just create our own? We've never been accepted by them, so why start now? Just go ahead and pave our own way and stop trying to, get the okay from them.
But look at it,
Our babies have to come up into the world.
That's right. And I'm going to wrap this down, my sister. We appreciate you, but I'm going to say this as I get off the air. Look at how we really live, y'all. And this is a real show. Look at where we really go to eat and who we really put ourselves around. The majority support each other. Those days are over. It's not the majority. We go to places that we look like, where we're accepted. That's where we spend our money most of the time, unless we have to. It's our leaders that are not doing what they need to do to lead us. But I appreciate you, my sister. We're going to post a little more about what she said on our Facebook page. We're going to do much more over the next 2 days, and we'll be back here Monday, same time, same place. Keep fighting, Jackson. We've got to reach out to our senators and say we don't like what's happening in Jackson. We've got to reach out to our senators and say we don't like what's happening in Jackson. Until next time, we love you. For my co-host and myself, Tarek Abdul-Tawwab, we can beat this. Make it make sense, Jackson. Until next time.